Yo, what's up guys, Snuggoat here. I'm making this video so I can go over a few things. One, I'm going to talk about tips on specific bosses in Ulduar so that you can pump the hardest and basically solo carry your raid through mechanics. Another thing, I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on Ulduar in general, and then I'll go over your loot prio and what items you want to be using first. If you use a site like That's My Bis or something like that, where you put your items you want in order of most to least wanted, I'll show you the way that I think is best to rank them. So without further ado, let's just get started. Alright guys, so this is the part where I'm going to go over loot prio and how I think you should be prioritizing your BIS items from Ulduar. I'm not going to go over anything that isn't BIS because I don't give a fuck about gear that's not BIS personally, but yeah, for everything that is BIS, I'm going to go over and show you what's contested. So basically the way you want to order your items is by putting the most contested items, the highest priority on your wish list, and then go down from there, right? So you can see here this contested item heat map. You can see what the most contested items are for physical DPS all the way to the least, with green being least contested and red being most contested. So all you're going to do really is I just use this sheet to look at items that are on my BIS list, and the ones that were most contested I put at the top. So let me grab my That's My BIS real quick, which is right over here. So yeah, this is the way I have my list set up. Everybody wants brand signet ring, which is the quest reward ring, so I put that first. After that, I have all my hard mode gear because that's super biz. Legs of Ruination are the second most contested item, Bedlam are the third most, Hodir is the fourth most, Belt of Colossal Rage is the fifth most, Sabatons are the sixth most, so on and so on. Then I get down to normal mode gear here, and other than Seal of the Betrayed King, which I put up there just because it's like a decent item, I put tier pretty much last above all of the non-biz off pieces because, well, first of all, I have the helmet and the chest piece from normal mode tier all the way at the end because you can buy these with badges, so putting them anywhere on your prio sheet high up is just pointless because you can just buy them yourself after you raid enough or do some dailies. So why would you waste like a wishlist slot on an item that you can just get yourself with badges? So I have those at the very end, and then I have all the normal mode off pieces that I don't give a shit about because they're gonna get replaced by BIS. I have those above the helm and the chest, and then slightly above those I have the tier, which is tier I can't get buying it myself, so I'm gonna eventually have to get this from raid. But since tier drops every week and it's guaranteed to drop, and no matter what, towards the end of the phase, eventually everybody's gonna have their tier, so eventually it'll be your turn. So I always put tier last because I'm gonna get it eventually no matter what, and it's not like one of those things where I could raid the entire I could raid the entire phase and then I'd never see it, right? So I have all of the hard mode off pieces first, other than brand signet ring, since that's super contested and it's super bis, and then after that I have normal mode off pieces that maybe I care about, and then I have tier, and then I have the tier you can buy. So this is the order that I would put it in. I'll scroll down and up one more time so you can see. This is my personal prio order for my own loot. This is what I'm using for my wish list. You guys can do it however you want, but yeah, I basically made this using the contested item heat map and saw what classes use, I saw what specs use other items that I want for my BIS, and the classes that the most specs that use those items compared to me, I put higher up on my list, and then when it was just me on the item, I put it at the bottom. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Alright, XT, there's not that much to say. It's a brain dead tank and spank. Just do your standard rotation, blast as hard as you can. The one optimization you can go for is if you get Gravity Bomb, the debuff actually doesn't do AoE damage or damage at all until it falls off of you. So you can rocket boot with it at the last second, drop it out of the raid, and run back in for maximum uptime. So I didn't think I'd need to say this, but I'm going to anyway because of my own raid experience. When the boss uses Tantrum, this is a really great time to press IBF. It'll save your healers a lot of mana and stress since they're already trying to heal up the whole raid, and if everybody in the raid used a personal or defensive at this point, Tantrum would basically do nothing. So yeah, you can set yourself out as one of the actual good players in the game by using a defensive during this big boss cooldown, instead of being like all the idiots who only press 3 buttons the entire fight. So Kologarn, this is another fight where there's really not that much to say about it. The one thing that you should do is stand where I'm standing. If you're DPSing the right arm, or if you're DPSing the left arm, then you'd stand symmetrically to where I'm standing on the opposite side. What this is going to do is keep you from getting parried. Just make sure you don't fall off the edge because you'll get one shot and look like an idiot. So it's worth noting that damage done to Rebel and damage done to Kologarn arms that don't die don't count towards your Warcraft log parse. So if you're just trying to parse and you don't care about anything else, then you should just blast Kologarn the whole time. That being said, if you're trying to actually do the mechanics and like get a wipeless raid, it's probably good to use your Killing Machine procs and your Rhyme procs to Howling Blast Rebel when you get a chance, because it's pretty brainless to just turn and blast them real quick. It's similar to what you did on 3D Sarth when you're hitting trash, except those ads actually counted towards your log. But yeah, other than that, you're just dodging I-beams and blasting the boss the whole time. There's not much to this fight. So Auriaya, also known as Ayaya if you're a weeb, yeah, we found that standing on this side of the platform to LOS instead of the other side where the lamp is a lot safer. We kept having people get like catted through the lamp even though they were quote unquote out of LOS over there, so we just started using this side and it's pretty safe every time. We just have a Death Knight throw down D&D and then run around the corner, our Death Knight tank, but you can also do the same thing with a Hunter using a misdirect explosive trap or something like that. So all of these sentries in the beginning of the fight count towards your parse, so it's worth spreading your diseases and howling blasting. Generally you want to be howling blasting when there's at least 3 or more targets, or it's not worth using it over an obliterate on single target. But yeah, after this, the only things that count towards your parse are damage to Auriaya herself or to the like guardian cat that spawns. So the swarm guardians, which are all those like little like scarabs that come out and there's a shit ton of them, they don't count towards your parse at all. So if you're just trying to parse, don't even howling blast those, just keep obliterating Auriaya. But if you're trying to like carry your raid because they're bad at mechanics or just like generally shit, then it's probably worth using your howling blast to hit those. So you can see here all of these swarming guardians, none of the damage towards those actually counts towards your parse. So even though I'm howling blasting them because I don't trust my raiders, if I was just trying to parse, I would just be obliterating Auriaya. Aside from that, try and kick the Sentinel Blast if your fear gets broken, and stand in front of her when she does her split cone damage. But yeah, this is just yet another tank and spank. Alright, so Hodir's like the first boss in the raid I think actually requires some IQ, in that if you play it well, it's going to make a big difference on the meters and on your logs. First things first, you should be breaking the mages of the flash freezes and then everything else, because they give you big buffs that are important. I was already on full tilt at this point in the raid because we're 23 manning and we suck, so I was just like rage running at the boss, not caring about actually helping my raid out with the mechanics. But yeah, you shouldn't do that, and you should help break all the guys out. Besides that, get as much uptime as you possibly can standing in the light, and try and get the shock buff from your allies who get it, because it gives you a haste buff. So if you see someone like glowing with lightning and they're not running it through you, consider running through them if it's worth the downtime on the boss. But yeah, besides that, you're literally just camping the light beams as much as possible, moving as much as you can. You can AMS like pretty much any time during this fight because there's so much shit going on that you're guaranteed to get some RP generation and damage mitigation. But yeah, basically you just blast all the time and stay in the light as much as possible. So Freya is basically a crapshoot. Any damage you do to her before the final heal, where she goes into phase 2 and you can actually kill her, doesn't count towards your log at all. So all of the trash damage is basically how you're parsing on this fight. All you want to do is just do as much fucking AoE as humanly possible the whole fight. So you're howling, blasting, blood boiling, and throwing bombs, as well as spreading your diseases, and that's literally it. It can be worth holding your howling blast to fish for a KM proc before you use it for a guaranteed crit, but I mean, other than that, you're literally just AoEing the whole time. When all of the lashers come out, don't be like us and kill them all simultaneously while standing inside them, or you'll wipe. But yeah, just do AoE damage the whole time, and this fight is piss easy. Alright, so Thorim, there's really not that much to say about this boss. It's just another tank and spank, so all you have to do is make sure you're not standing on the pie of the wall where the lightning AoE is going off, and then be spread out as much as possible from your raid so that you're not getting chain lightning to death. If you're doing it on hard mode, Sif's going to be down there blasting frost bolts and throwing blizzards down the whole time, so you can use AMS to mitigate some of this damage. The reason I don't have anything to say about this boss is, as you can see, my tunnel team couldn't even make it through the fucking tunnel. They died multiple times trying to get through the tunnel, so yeah, I basically just stood up here in the arena watching my raid die one by one and raging to people in DMs. Alright, so Mimiron's actually one of those fights where you can hard carry as a Frost DK. Like, I'm saying you can solo put everyone on your back and just push them through this boss if you play well. You might not parse well doing that, but yeah, if you're struggling, you can make such a huge difference as a Frost DK in this fight. So, first things first, if you have the Temps pack, it's going to show you this indicator that says run out whenever Shock Blast goes off and tell you when you're out of range and safe, so that's a super good tool. The Temps pack gives you all sorts of weak aura notifications for not just bosses, but trash too, so I'd highly recommend installing that just to make everything trivial and piss easy. Alright, so on phase 1 and phase 2, I mean, you're literally just DPSing the boss and avoiding mechanics. Don't stand on the fucking mines and don't get Gatling gunned down like an idiot. Phase 3 is where you can actually make a massive difference though. If you're chains of icing these boom bots, it actually just makes them so fucking easy to run away from and will save people's lives in your raid non-stop. As well as chains of icing the assault bot if you don't have a Death Knight tank to do it themselves. That'll make it so they can just perma-kite these things. So again, you might not be parsing well if you're using all your frost runes on chains of ice, but if you're just constantly chains of icing the boom bots and chains of icing the assault bot, this trivializes the like hard, deadly mechanics for like your entire raid. So you can pretty much solo carry just by chains of icing everything, as well as kicking the assault bot's magnetic field, which that's what keeps your tank immobilized and makes it so they can't move. Even though this can be dispelled by a paladin or something, if you just kick it, it will instantly free your tank so they can keep running. So yeah, chains of ice is actually unbalanced on this fight, and you can just hard carry your raid by spamming it on everything.